Hi everyone, welcome to my sewing studio. Today I have a tutorial for you on a self-binding baby blanket that actually has the raw edges finished, and so that's kind of why this is different than maybe some of the other tutorials that are out there. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm Lisa, the owner and designer of Pink Hollybush Patterns, a line of sewing patterns for children, most of which include an option for smocking, and most of which are designed for knit fabrics. So today we are talking about a knit baby blanket and how to finish those raw edges. So just to give you a little story, my daughter called me just the other day, and my granddaughter, who's 15 months old, is going to be going up into the next room, or a different room, the toddler room in her daycare. And as part of that, she needed a blanket that can go with her for nap time at daycare every day. And the blanket needs to come home each weekend to be washed and then go back the following weekend. Or the following week. So it is going to get a lot of wear, which is why I wanted the raw edges finished. And there are a number of tutorials here on YouTube for a self-binding baby blanket. In particular, I watched the one by the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I will link to that below. But that particular tutorial is using Minky fabric, and the edges are not finished. And with the Minky, if you're familiar with that, it's got a lot of volume fluff texture to it. It's very soft, it's lovely. But my granddaughter has a very sensitive skin, and she does not do well with the polyester fabrics. So my daughter wanted an all cotton blanket for her. She wanted the knit so it would still be nice and soft. And so I watched that tutorial, and this is a variation on that allows you to have to use these fabrics, just traditional. I used a French terry is the solid blue, and I will put a link to it. This is from Serge Fabrics. And then the Fun Geese. This is actually just from Joann's and their pop line, and this is a very thin jersey. So I put these two together, and just love the finished results, but there are no raw edges. This is enclosed, and so let me take you over to my sewing table, show you the few changes I made, and let's make a pretty soft, cuddly knit blanket together that you can make for the child in your life. So this is going to be my French terry base, and I've cut this in a square 50 inches on either side. I've cut my corners diagonally as the pattern tells you to do. And so for the Missouri Star tutorial, she had a square ruler with a diagonal, and I do not have one of those. So what I did was I just measured up 4 inches on one corner and marked and measured across 4 inches. And again marked, and then connected those two marks. That gives me my 45. You don't actually even need to draw it. You could just use the rotary cutter, and I cut those corners. Now, in order to have not have any raw edges, what I've done is gone around and I've pressed about a 1/2 inch. I was trying to make it a 1/3 of an inch, but with the bulk of the French terry, I think I've got it more at a 1/2 inch. So I've pressed that to the wrong side on all 4 edges, and then I used my wonderful glue base set And I've glued all those edges down, and I just have some binding clips, and I've let it dry. So I gave it a little time to dry. And now I'm going to follow the pattern, and I'm going to go to the sewing machine, and I'm going to put those edges together, and I'm going to leave, it's glued down anyway, so I have to leave it, right? But I'm going to leave the seam allowance folded when I go to the sewing machine, and I'm going to just stitch along here with my 3/8 seam allowance straight across there to make my mitered corners. Now this gave me a finished measurement on my blanket. These are each 2 inches wide. So by marking it at 4 inches, turning that raw edge under by a 1/2 inch, 3/8 to 1/2 inch, I ended up with 2 inch wide binding all around my blanket. So once I finished sewing my mitered corners, I pressed, I turned it right side out and then pressed the edges of the French terry, the blue, to the right side, so everything was nice and neat. And then I laid the whole thing out on the bed. You really do need to have a flat surface. You could do this on the floor as well, but with the knit, you need it to have the whole thing be flat. And then I took my jersey, the swans, and laid that inside, and I just went all around and pinned the edges. Now I'm going to take this to the sewing machine, and I'm going to use a blanket stitch. You could use a simple zigzag, but I'm going to just now go around the edges and sew that jersey to the blue. Now here's that finished blanket stitch, and I stitched this all around so that the straight part went right along the groove here where the two meet, and then it would swing over and go through that jersey, and the French terry, sorry. And the jersey fabric extends all the way over here to the edge, so it's catching it and securing it. Then here it is on the back. You can just see it goes all the way around there. And that is my finished blanket.